Is it possible that being too nice is more damaging than helpful? It might seem strange to say that there's such a thing as too much giving in a world where being kind is often seen as a sign of virtue. But taking a step back and looking at it more closely, Stoicism is a way of thinking. There is a structure that stresses the importance of balance between wisdom and self-care, which suggests that our need to be nice all the time might be getting in the way of our own health and sanity. Stoicism tells us that it's important to keep our emotions in check and not let outside factors too much affect our inner peace. If we always put other people's needs and wants ahead of our own, are we really living a balanced life? Stoic ideas say that we can only be truly wise when we know how generous we can be and make sure that our acts of kindness don't hurt our own moral and mental stability. This talk isn't just philosophical, it's also very real. It's about how our inability to say no or our never-ending need to please others can make us emotionally worn out. Exploring the possible downsides of being too kind can lead to stressed relationships and missed chances for personal growth. We're not downplaying the importance of kindness and giving. Instead, we're looking at how to use these traits wisely so that they make us happy and improve the lives of those around us, instead of making us angry and stressed. This way of thinking fits very well with the Stoic idea that balance is virtue and that the choices we make show how well we understand how complicated life is. Let's look at this interesting riddle together. How can kindness, which is supposed to bring us together, sometimes make us feel alone? How does wanting to be liked or needed keep us from making choices that are true to who we are? As we go through these questions, we'll learn how to use the good things about kindness while avoiding the bad things that can come from it. This will help us live a balanced, happy, and wise life. Always, if you like what we're doing here, please hit the subscribe button. It's a free thing I ask of you. Let's go. Feelings of burnout. This isn't just a short-term tiredness. It's a full state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by long-term stress, often from constantly trying to meet the emotional needs of others at the expense of one's own. The Stoic philosophy, which stresses moderation and self-control, warns us of the dangers of losing ourselves in our duties and the expectations of others. Stoics believe that our first duty is to ourselves, not in a selfish way, but in a way that makes sure we are strong, stable, and able before we try to help others. Marcus Aurelius talked a lot about how important it was to stay true to yourself when other people are putting pressure on you. He pushed for a life full of virtue and reason, which means knowing when to set limits in real life. Emotional burnout happens when you are always the person people can lean on, the person who is always there to listen, or the person who always has the answer to their problems. At first, this role might make you feel valuable and needed, but the long-term worry that comes from doing emotional work all the time can cause symptoms like irritability, less productivity at work, feelings of separation, and a decreasing sense of personal achievement. This isn't just an effect on the mind, it's also an effect on the body that can cause real health problems like sleeplessness, headaches, and a weakened immune system. Keeping your mental strength up is very important. One way to do this is to become more objective about our interactions with other people. Stoics teach us to tell the difference between things we can manage and things we can't in a kind way. To avoid emotional burnout, it's important to be realistic about what you can do to help others and when you need to take a break. To be truly compassionate, you also need to be compassionate toward yourself. Stoicism tries to find this balance so that our efforts to help others don't make us neglect our own well-being, which protects our ability to be a force for good in the long run. Get in the way of personal growth. Stoicism teaches us that personal growth isn't just a nice thing to do, it's an important part of living a happy and good life. It supports the idea that we should be in charge of our own lives and shape them through smart decisions and deliberate actions. When we consistently put other people's needs and wants before our own, we might feel a sense of purpose and fulfillment at first. But this focus on the outside world can slowly keep us from taking care of our own growth. This could mean giving up on our hobbies, schoolwork, or job advancement because we're too busy helping other people deal with their own problems. Stoicism can help you understand how to change this flow of energy. The philosophy says that helping others is good, but it shouldn't come at the expense of your own moral and intellectual growth. According to the Stoic view, personal growth involves developing virtues like wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. Each of these is important for our own behavior, as well as how we interact with others. If we consistently act in a way that is too altruistic, we risk losing sight of these virtues. For example, if we don't set limits or pursue justice for ourselves, we might avoid confrontations or necessary conflicts that lead to growth because we want to be nice or too flexible. Also, being too kind can cause a state of stagnation in which personal goals are not only put off but also lost. This state of stagnation can make life feel off balance and unfulfilling. Another Stoic philosopher, Seneca, talked about how short life is and how important it is to live it in a way that is true to our deepest values and goals. He told us not to waste our time on things that aren't in line with who we are and what we want to achieve. It is important to regularly reflect on ourselves to see if our kindness is making our lives better or holding us back. This means asking ourselves hard questions about whether we are really making decisions that are in line with our values or just responding to other people's needs. To escape this trap, we need to make sure that our kindness doesn't turn into selflessness. While Stoicism doesn't say to stop being kind, it does suggest a more balanced approach, one in which self-care and personal goals aren't pushed to the side in favor of wanting to help others. This balanced approach makes sure that our acts of kindness last and make a positive difference in both other people's lives and our own. Stoicism tells us to take care of our own gardens first, so that we can help the gardens of others with more strength and wisdom. Attraction of manipulation. Being kind without limits can be seen as a sign of weakness or a willingness to give in to demands all the time, even if they don't make sense or affect our ability to give. This may bring in people who care less about mutual respect and more about what they can get out of it. These kinds of relationships are not only bad, they go against the lessons of Stoicism, which stress justice and respect for others. Epictetus said that being kind is important, but so is being discriminating. He thought that knowledge was knowing who to help and how much to help them, so we don't encourage bad traits like greed or dependence in others. In real life, this kind of discernment keeps people from getting into relationships where their kindness is frequently used to help others. Being too nice without setting clear boundaries can make you keep attracting and keeping relationships with people who see kindness not as a virtue to be reciprocated, but as a chance to take advantage of others. These relationships are often one-sided, leaving the giver feeling drained and the taker always wanting more. Marcus Aurelius thought about how important it was to be kind and smart at the same time. He said that we should not only think about whether our deeds are good, but also whether they make our lives better and help everyone else. This Stoic view is important because it reminds us that we need to find a balance between wanting to be kind and needing to protect our own health in order to avoid getting into or staying in relationships that are abusive. Stoicism teaches us to set clear boundaries and respect ourselves. It also teaches us that true kindness includes being kind to ourselves, which means not letting our generosity be abused. When we take a Stoic approach to relationships, we learn to offer help that is both generous and wise, making sure that our kindness lasts and is truly beneficial for both parties. This balanced approach helps build relationships based on genuine respect and mutual support instead of exploitation and manipulation. How to make compromise decisions. Stoicism, stresses how important it is to make choices based on reason instead of feeling. When kindness takes precedence over reason, it can lead to choices that aren't in your best interests or don't match your true values. Being too kind can make it hard to make decisions that are best for others instead of yourself. This can show up in a number of ways, such as making commitments that conflict with your personal or professional goals, or passing up chances that would require you to put others before yourself. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, said that reason should be the guiding principle in life, and that we shouldn't let our feelings decide what we should do. This Stoic principle is very important when we think about how making compromised decisions can lead to a life that doesn't feel like it's fulfilling or in line with your goals. In real life, if you consistently put other people's needs and wants before your own, you may end up doing things that don't help you grow or make you happy. This is where the Stoic practice of self-examination comes in handy. By regularly checking to see if our choices are in line with our true goals and values, we can start to make changes and make sure our kindness is both wise and measured. To be truly free, Seneca said, one must follow their own morals and have the strength to say no when they need to. He also said that being able to refuse to make choices that are in our best interest, even if they might disappoint others, is a form of self-respect and an important part of Stoic wisdom for people who often make bad decisions out of kindness. Being silent is a way to get back control over your own decisions. It encourages finding a balance where kindness doesn't hurt someone's happiness or morals, but works with them. By aiming to keep this balance, we can improve our ability to make decisions that are not only kind, but also wise and good, which is what the Stoic ideal of living a well-reasoned life is all about. Loss of real relationships. There is a big risk here when kindness is given without thinking or balancing it. Stoicism also tells us how important it is to make real connections with other people. When we are too kind and don't set limits, it can lead to shallow relationships that don't have any depth or genuine mutual respect. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius stress the importance of real connections with other people as a way to live a happy life. However, they also warned us not to let our desire to please others get in the way of our own needs and values. If we are too accommodating and always say yes to avoid conflict or displeasure, we may end up hiding our true thoughts and feelings. This can stop real intimacy from growing where both people feel safe to be fully and honestly themselves. Too much people-pleasing can lead to relationships where one's true personality and needs are hidden. People may like and depend on us not for who we are, but for what we can do for them. This relationship can be very unsatisfying and may lead to anger over time. Another famous Stoic, Epictetus, said that honest and open communication is the only way for two people to truly understand and respect each other. He also taught that it's important to respect yourself and be clear about your needs and wants. Also, losing real relationships means not only missing out on the chance to connect on a deeper level, but also on the chance of not being truly known or understood by others. When our interactions are based on a facade of agreeableness, we deny ourselves and others the chance to have a more meaningful and enriching exchange. Seneca, who thought a lot about friendship and social interaction, said that the best friendships are ones where both people can be completely honest with each other and where criticism is not only allowed but also promoted in order to build real relationships. As a Stoic, we are told to be thoughtful in our kindness and not just react. We are also told to set limits on how much we are willing to give and to whom. By doing these things, we not only protect our own well-being, but also make it possible for more genuine and rewarding interactions to happen. This Stoic balance leads to relationships that are based on kindness, but also on authenticity and mutual respect, which creates deeper and more satisfying connections. Effects on the mind. Stoicism teaches us how important it is to keep our emotions in check. Being too kind can throw off this balance, which can lead to anger, anxiety, and even sadness. Putting others' needs before your own over and over again can make you feel like you've lost your identity. Stoic philosophers like Seneca and Epictetus said that being kind is good, but it's also important to make sure that being kind doesn't hurt your own emotional health. If we are too kind all the time, we might start to think that our own needs and wants are less important or that we don't have the right to voice them. This can cause stress because we aren't dealing with or acknowledging our feelings. This can show up in your mind as more stress, a sense of being overwhelmed, and finally, burnout. The Stoics said that being truly wise means recognizing and meeting your own wants with the same care and dedication as you do others. Also, the stress of having to keep up this appearance of always being generous can make you worry all the time about failing other people. This fits with the Stoic idea that peace comes from living logically, not by living based on what other people want you to do. Being too kind to others can also make you feel less valuable because it can seem like their value for us depends only on how useful we are to them, not on who we are as people. To lessen these psychological effects, Stoicism pushes us to become more self-aware by thinking about our reasons for being too kind and the results of those actions. Thinking about yourself helps you develop a more balanced view of kindness, one that includes being kind to yourself. Marcus Aurelius, a supporter of Stoic thought, said that people should act in line with their own virtues and reason. He said that we should think about how our actions affect not only other people, but also our own mental and emotional health. While Stoicism values kindness and making the world a better place, it also values the idea of personal well-being. The philosophy encourages a balanced approach where acts of kindness are not done at the cost of one's mental health, but in addition to it, making sure that our generosity makes us stronger instead of weaker. Risks to mental health. Kindness that goes too far can cause mental health problems like anxiety and sadness. This happens when someone wants to be always kind and helpful and forgets to take care of their own emotional and mental needs. Stoic philosophy, which encourages a life of virtue balanced with self-awareness and personal well-being, says that putting other people's needs ahead of your own can cause mental turmoil and upset your own balance. According to the Stoics, the way to achieve apatheia, or freedom from distress, is not by avoiding emotions, but by managing them wisely. When we consistently put the needs of others ahead of our own, we may feel unappreciated or overwhelmed, which can be bad for our mental health. This is not in line with Stoic advice, which says we should avoid overworking ourselves to the point of mental fatigue. Moreover, the stress of always being kind can stop people from expressing themselves honestly, which can lead to feelings of loneliness and isolation, which are strong indicators of mental health problems like depression. The Stoic way to deal with this would be to encourage people to talk about their real wants and feelings, which would help them stay connected with themselves and others in a real way. Stoicism also helps us be more resilient by encouraging us to think about and analyze our own reasons for doing things on a daily basis. States of mind and emotions. By thinking about ourselves, we can figure out when our acts of kindness might be hurting our mental health more than helping others. This helps us set healthy limits and be kind in a way that is also good for our mental health. Stoicism doesn't call for less kindness. Instead, it encourages a more balanced approach where acts of generosity are weighed against one's own health and happiness. This balance is important to make sure that our desire to help others doesn't hurt us. So by incorporating Stoic wisdom into our approach to kindness, we can protect our mental health while still making a positive difference in other people's lives. When we consistently put the needs of others ahead of our own, we run the risk of falling into patterns of self-neglect. This can show up in a number of ways, such as ignoring your physical health by skipping meals or sleep to help others. ignoring your emotional health by stifling your feelings to keep the peace, or ignoring your personal growth by passing up opportunities that would require time away from caregiving duties. These actions, even when done with good intentions, go against the Stoic principle of oikeiosis, which says that taking care of yourself is important for living a rational and peaceful life. The Stoics, especially philosophers like Epictetus and Seneca, stress the importance of self-respect not as a selfish act, but as a basic part of human well-being. They said that one cannot truly help others if their own well-being is compromised. From this point of view, neglecting one's own health is bad for both the individual and the community, since someone who is sick or unhappy can't effectively contribute to the welfare of others. Stoic philosophy says that we become wise by recognizing what we can control and what we can't. When we neglect ourselves to help others, we are ignoring our main area of control, ourselves. This misalignment can cause frustration and resentment, which Stoics say comes from not knowing where our duties really lie. According to Stoic philosophy, our first duty is to take care of our own rational and moral health, which is directly within our control, and it should guide all of our actions to fight self-neglect. Stoicism encourages people to think about themselves and act in a moderate way. It teaches that taking care of oneself is not an escape from helping others, but a necessary step toward it. By making sure we are physically and mentally healthy, we are better able to help others without getting angry. This balance between taking care of ourselves and helping others is what lets us live in a way that is in line with nature and meets our obligations to ourselves and our community in a way that is sustainable and makes sense. Using Stoic practices in our daily lives helps us be more kind to ourselves and others, rather than just being kind to others. This way of thinking makes sure that our acts of kindness are not self-harm, but instead expressions of a well-thought-out balanced virtue that includes self-respect and self-compassion. This kind of kindness improves not only our lives, but also the lives of those around us, creating a community where everyone's needs are truly respected and cared for. One of the most important Stoic strategies is self-awareness, which means regularly reflecting on our actions and asking ourselves if they are really helpful or if they come from wanting to be liked or being afraid of conflict. By doing this, we can better tell when our kindness is needed and when it may be getting in the way of our well-being or personal growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote a lot about how important it is to look at your goals and make sure they are in line with good sense and personal virtue. Setting and sticking to healthy boundaries is another important trick for staying healthy while helping others. Boundaries help us figure out how much we can give without hurting ourselves and let others know what is and isn't okay. Being stoic isn't about being less kind. It's about being smart about how kind we are. By being clear about our limits, we can still help others without losing our own resources. Epictetus spoke about how important it is to focus on what we can control. Setting and sticking to boundaries is a direct application of this message. Another Stoic concept that applies here is moderation in all actions, even kindness. The Stoics thought that too much of any kind could cause imbalance and moral decay. By practicing moderation, we can make sure that our acts of kindness are thoughtful and appropriate for the situation rather than forced or impulsive. This helps us stay grounded and make sure that our acts of kindness are in line with our abilities and true intentions. Stoicism teaches that moral courage, or the courage to act in a way that makes sense, is essential for a good life. Practicing this courage helps us resist the pressure to always give in to other people's demands and teaches us that true kindness sometimes means saying no to requests that would hurt us or make other people dependent on us in unhealthy ways. In practice, this is often one of the hardest parts of being kind, especially for people who are afraid of making other people unhappy. Lastly, Stoicism tells us to be thankful and content with what we have, which can curb the desire to seek approval by constantly giving. When we value our own lives and appreciate ourselves, we are less likely to use kindness as a way to get approval from others, and more likely to act out of genuine care and sound judgment. By incorporating these Stoic strategies into our daily lives, we can enjoy the benefits of being kind and generous without the risks of overextending ourselves. This balanced approach not only protects our well-being, but also makes our kindness more effective and appreciated, which leads to healthier and more satisfying relationships. Remember that the real strength of Stoicism is taking care of our own relationships, as well as the ones we have with others. It's not about giving less, but about giving wisely, so that our kindness makes our own lives better, as well as the lives of others. Thank you for exploring with us at Stoic Journal. Your participation makes our community stronger and helps us all live a calm, thoughtful life. For more information on how to live a good life, please watch one of the videos on the screen. Keep growing, think about, and bring out the best in yourself.